I'm Rick Miller, and welcome to
Xing the Gap.
Xing the Gap is an extension of my Boom trilogy of solo stage shows in which I document 75 years of stories on our planet from 1945 to 2020. It's about the big stories from Hiroshima to COVID-19, but it's also about family. Part 1, Boom, is about the baby boom generation and my parents' coming of age story. Part 2, Boom X, is my own Gen X coming of age story. And Part 3, Boom YZ, is about Gen Y, millennials, and Gen Z, and my daughter's coming of age story. In Xing the Gap, I'm not the performer, but the host of an intergenerational conversation between a baby boomer and a millennial. Sometimes we break the rules and go younger or older, but the goal is always the same, to discover how differently we see things, but that together we can build bridges of understanding, find a shared humanity, and save the world from itself. Boom! In today's episode, my two guests are Mary Walsh and Jamie Pitt, who bring us perspective from Newfoundland. Mary is one of Canada's most recognized comedians, a founding member of CODCO and This Hour is 22 Minutes, and a prolific writer, producer, and performer. Jamie was a student of Mary's, then her executive assistant, and has since gone on to become a successful casting director, editor, and educator. In our wonderful chat, we discover that Newfoundlanders tend to do things their own way. We talk about younger generations, gender and intersectionality, underrepresentation of older women in Canadian culture, about wisdom, looking under the hood of who we are, about hurtful words, heartfelt conversations with sisters and brothers and aunts, and how even the most rigid families can still change their ways. All that and much, much more, including watching a Canadian legend get her butt whooped in a game show. Don't blame everything on Star Wars, Mary Walsh. My friends, it's time for
Xing the Gap.
First of all, Mary and Jamie, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thanks.
Can you each describe yourselves, little, elevator pitch, who I am, what I do? Maybe we'll start with you, Mary.
Well, I met Jamie because she was my student my husband was an English prof at the university, since retired, but Memorial University has this satellite campus in Harlow in England. And I went along teaching, Don was teaching 18th century English, and I went along teaching satire and theater. So really what we got to do was go to the theater all the time. And Jamie was one of the students, and I don't know if you know this, Rick, but lots of people get into university and are in third year English and don't know what any words that they're using mean, and don't know how to write a sentence, like a paragraph is so far. And I understand there's reasons for that, but I was in shock because I'd only read, for pleasure, and read things that were written that you could understand. But there were people who were in Jamie's class who I didn't understand they were speaking another language, a language that I had no access to. But Jamie was quite brilliant and, knew what all the words meant, and was very, very impressive and worked really hard, which I really found impressive too. And because lots of people just went over to Harlow, because you get access to Poland and France, and you know what I mean? It's like for poor kids from Newfoundland, or not poor, but, lower middle class or middle class. And, they got to do the grand tour like people who were rich used to do, in the 20th century. So anyway, that's how I met Jamie. And I was so impressed with her, and she was just an amazing person, not just as a student, but as a human being. And I just was really, taken with her. And my name is Mary Walsh, and I don't usually teach because I'm not really that good at teaching. But I did do it. And I'm a comedian and a writer and a producer and, all those jobs. I'm a jack of all trades in the entertainment business. And I'm not going to say master of none. I think there's some things that I do better than others. So that's who I am.
Terrific. Jamie, over to you.
Oh my God. Okay. So hi, I'm Jamie. I met Mary. Yes, I was her student in Harlow, and she was the main reason that I went, because I got to take British drama and performance and creative writing satire with Mary Walsh. And I'd loved her my whole life. And Mary, I don't know if you know this, I went to the airport to pick up my dad, and you were there to pick up Dawn when I was like 9. And I remember shaking, seeing you. I couldn't even say hello, but I'm like Dawn, and I was like, I love her so much. I love her so much. And then I was like, oh, I'm taking that course. I'm going to England to go to the theater with Mary Walsh. We went to London, honestly, almost every day. And I can't believe she's saying she's not a good teacher. She's a great teacher, but she definitely breaks the classroom and breaks, a traditional top-down model. And like most of our assignments for the British Drama and Performance course was writing reviews, which is a totally different kind of critique and commercial and pop culture type of writing that I didn't have any opportunity to do really up to that point. And she broke my writing in a really good way, saying, this is all intellectually thought out, and it has, but where's the blood? Where's your real human thoughts about the play in the review? Anyway, we had a ball. And then a year later, I was in my final year of university. Mary was looking for an executive assistant. It was personal assistant. I call it executive. And it was a ball. And like, we went to Arizona, and I worked on a trillion things with her and got to just help her create for a few years. And now we just remain really good friends. And she's like my therapist too. And like my mom, and like my fun aunt, and my fun sister in a way. I'm little sister to her sometimes, and I think she's little sister to me sometimes in a really sweet way. And I work in the film industry primarily right now. I work in casting, and I write and I perform, and kind of wear a lot of hats, and sometimes teach first year English lit also.
Both Mary and Jamie wear a lot of hats. Their identity and careers are fluid, which is more typical with millennials than with baby boomers, because baby boomers were a generation raised by boxes. You lived in a box, you drove in a box, you worked in a box, you ate from a box while watching a box. And that box had glossy pictures of happiness and leisure and post-war prosperity, as long as you stayed on track. School, job, marriage, house, kids, pets, retirement. And yes, some boomers rebelled against the system in the late 60s, but many of them were happy to fall into it because it worked for them. It's still working for them. And when you're riding on that track, comfy in your box, it seems like the only way to travel through life. I asked Jamie, a millennial, if things are different for her generation.
I would say it definitely is. And Mary's generation would really be the generation that raised my generation. And I know in my own relationship with my parent, Mary, thinking generationally, I think about expectations about work. And Mary, I don't want to speak to you. You don't subscribe to that, nor have you ever. But definitely my parents, I feel, they are surprised how long it's taking, say, people of my generation to get it together. And I definitely, but I'm more open to that it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride, or that it's more about the journey. But my parents, I think, take maybe more of a common generational stance on that ye aren't working hard enough, or you're not applying yourselves, or, they're just so panicked, they're freaked. But I'd love to know what Mary thinks about that too.
Mary, what do you think about that?
Well, in theater, there was nothing, and then we created it. So then we had to do everything. We had to write it, and then we had to find a place to put it on, and then we had to produce it, and so that was the way it always was. So there was no expectation from my generation of Newfoundland artists anyway. And really, come on, I was going to Ryerson, and Paul Thompson at Theatre Pasmarai gave us $300 to write our own first show of Cod on a Stick for CODCO. And, they were creating before that, really, in Canada, in this business, in the entertainment business, there were only little theaters. And so there was no theater. There was nobody, now I know that, people audition for the great artistic directors and blah, 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 and all that. And you hope to get in. I'm always hoping Jamie's going to cast me, which he never does, but bastard. there was nobody to do it. There was nobody to look to give you a job. There was no job to go to. You had to create it. And my father's generation, my father said that was always the way in Newfoundland. You had to create everything. You had to create the tools. There was nothing coming in. We're an island. He said that when the Americans came in the 40s, that Newfoundland men who had never seen electricity pretended that they were electricians, and then they just did it. You know what I mean? They did it. So I don't find that there's much of a difference between myself and Jamie in those ways of our expectations about if we do the right thing now, then we'll naturally go on to this, and then we'll get in with this crowd. And then, you know what I mean? That
Sure.
It just never existed, and it doesn't now.
So
for me, but I didn't work for IBM, and I think it was a big shock for people who worked for IBM.
The world is better off that you didn't work for IBM, Mary. I think it's probably safe to say. What is something that you find, maybe it's in a university context or generally, that younger generations see differently from older generations? And I'm a Gen X, so I consider myself an older generation. I have two daughters who are 19 and 14 who are considered Gen Z. I can list a bunch of things that I think younger people are educating older people about, and vice versa. I think it goes both ways. So I'll start with you, Jamie. If you could think of something that is fundamentally different about a younger generation's perspective on things.
Well, I think even like I'm looking to the younger generation beneath me now, and they're learning and sharing, on the wide, terrifying world that is the internet. But they're sharing things that I only encountered in like my third year feminist theory class and stuff like that. And from that kind of information has, though I know there's a long way to go, is reaching more and more people. And not information, just ways of being. And I think, kids I know, I taught theater to kids for a long time, and kids that I taught when they were 8 are now and like finishing high school or in high school, and the things they just know and feel empowered to say and speak and understand are really amazing. Like, I think Oscar Wilde would die again to know how far we are taking the creation of the individual, at least in kind of this context, and like in this context, I'll say this historical moment. And, I know that's different across so many different identities, but everyone is really about the creation of not just the individual and communities, but like, who we are. They're not afraid to look under the hood. And that's something Mary actually really isn't afraid of. I know it's a scary process, but in terms of what I learned from the younger generation, they're looking under the hood. And Mary in her generation now is really looking under the hood too. I'm just really afraid to. I'm trying to. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's about really a sense that you can be who you want to be, and that the personal is political. And I mean, it was definitely already happening when Mary was growing up and my age and younger, but I just see it so much more with the internet. I can just see people creating themselves and being really brave about it, that I find amazing.
And Mary, what's under the hood? What are you finding?
Well, it doesn't seem to me that things are any different. Our surfaces are different. Like Jamie taught me, like I used to say the word retarded. I used to say it, and then Jamie used to always say, I wish you wouldn't say that. And then I stopped saying it. But you know why I stopped saying it? She taught me that would hurt someone, that they would hear that word, and then that would hurt them. And that's what I learned from Jamie. And I learned that I had no interest in hurting someone just because I always said that word. It seemed like a useful word. It just means slow in French. Why is developmentally delayed any better? But at the risk of hurting someone, I don't care. I don't want to say that. I mean, I don't want to do that. But, Jamie and I both have very difficult mothers, and we are the product of that, as we are all the product of our mothers, be they, I think mother monster, it's too big a job for any human being to take on, to be a mother. And so, a lot of things that Jamie and I, though there's 40 years between us, I think that under the hood, we're all exactly the same as we were 2,000 years ago, as we were 40 years ago, as we were,
Under the hood, we're all exactly the same. From a biological point of view, absolutely. From a sociological point of view, though, our experiences of the world can be incredibly different, and that can put up walls between generations. What makes the walls even higher is our use of technology, where algorithms curate our experience and lead us to completely different versions of reality. The real problem of humanity is the following. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. I didn't write that. The sociologist E.O. Wilson did. Our Paleolithic emotions, what's under the hood, were designed for the Stone Age, not the Information Age. We weren't designed to be able to turn off our emotions. We were designed to create offspring.
I have a twin brother, and it's been interesting to walk through life with him from the perspective of a, cisgendered white, upper middle class man. And he's my twin. And we, lived life French immersion from kindergarten all the way. And we did the same degrees, basically, not gender studies, though. And he really right now is finding these little codes for the world. Well, that person's acting that way because they're of Scottish ancestry, and that's how he's really kind of plugging in codes. And he is not all the time. He's trying to understand the world in his way, but he sometimes is very okay boomer, and then it's full stop. And I think we always need to see everyone in their complexity. And I mean, a very close friend of mine who's 87 years old passed away this year. She wasn't my granny. She was my friend's granny that I then just took on as my granny because I'm always looking to be mothered, as Mary would knows about me. But she is 87 years old, and her capacity to understand people's different identities. I mean, she doesn't care, but she wants to be decent and kind to bring as many people in to her heart, as I know Mary does. So I've had a lot of friends who are a lot older, and I really don't see set in their ways behavior. My brother definitely right now, I think he's very angry at the type of values that my parents were raised with in their in their socioeconomic class. Like, I think he's just really angry at the iteration of masculinity he got. He's really pissed. My dad would pass that on. And my dad is a very open person you do have to have like a yelling match at the kitchen table sometimes to get there. My dad really can learn. My experience isn't that older folks can't learn at all. It never, ever is that. But I know people of my generation do feel that. And it's just about patience. People are so just like, I don't want to hear it. It's easier for me to pop you in that box and go, okay, boomer. And it's not helpful, I think.
Mary, I'll throw it over to you, but with the added point that I find in my last few years, especially doing this trilogy of shows where I'm trying to connect generations together and to find that generational distinctions ultimately aren't helpful at all. We are just human beings under the hood, as we said before. I guess learning comes from listening from me, as opposed to just talking my way through it. Do you find that at all? Because you're someone who's been very expressive your entire life. That's what you do for a living.
I find it hard. I was just working with someone else, and I was just, so I had just learned something, and I was telling Monique, and then I noticed about halfway through the conversation that I wasn't letting Monique answer, even though I was saying, I really like to know what you think about this, Monique, because I'll tell you yesterday, and I was just like, so I have that, but I wouldn't say that that's an age problem. That is my own personal, character defect because here's the thing that's always worked for me is I don't know what I think until I say it. And then I'll say it and then I'll go, oh, I don't know. But my life has been ruined to a certain degree by always thinking about what the other person was going to think and never taking the opportunity. And I don't know if that's a generational thing or an Irish Catholic alcoholic thing, or you know what I mean? Like, what is that? I don't know.
I don't have an answer for you. I come from an Irish Catholic background as well, and there's a bit of alcoholism in my family too.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, but I have had this desire to be loved and to be seen through the prism of others all the time, which makes me, I can't touch politics in the sense that I can't become a politician because immediately half the people will hate you, and myself could not tolerate that.
When I used to do marketing, people used to say, get into politics, I'd go, I would just be crying all the time. And I stayed up all night to try to hear the shit in those schools and understand. You know what I mean? I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take that I would be doing all this work and there'd be no applause and no awards. And people would be just saying, how could she's so ugly and she didn't get the thing done. And I mean, who would choose to be a politician?
Yeah.
I know that we went too far. We always go too far one way and then we go too far the other way, right?
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
So, Jamie, like in the sense of delight, and we talked a lot about love and compassion, these aren't things that normally get associated with our new technology, with social media, which is still relatively new. It's all a big social experiment in my mind to see how it's all going to pan out. But the internet, safe to say, is not how people envisioned it as this utopia of democracy. It's become this, these echo chambers often of hate and anger. And when people filter, like being angry is natural and it's good. But if you filter everything through anger, then there's very little love or compassion or kindness or delight. How do you use social media, Jamie, a lot? And do you find that you can use it and it can be used to push the values forward that you think are important?
I'm wrestling with that question. I don't know yet. We are completely in the great experiment of having more information, more communication, more. I don't know. It's like with Bo Burnham, a little bit of everything all of the time. And I don't know what it's going to mean. I know that my generation was babysat by the internet. I actually had a great babysitter, Paula. Love you. You babysat me and loved me and cared for me. Sorry. But I think sometimes how much more of my effing life is going to be spent searching for something here that is already, I need to go down my own Google, I need to go into my own search engine, but I don't know what it's going to mean. And how do I use social media? I think I really want social media. I want to get away from it because I feel like I've given so much of my life to it aimlessly. Now I have ADHD and it's not great for me. It's quick, instant, relentless dopamine hits until I'm fatigued of even that. I think the instant scroll, what is it called? Eternal scrolling is not good for me. And my precious minutes of my little short, shitty life are just going down the drain. So
I love that, by the way, the precious minutes of my short, shitty life. Like that's either a poem or a song or a play. I don't know. To be continued.
To be continued.
Is there something about yourselves that you have been holding back to share with each other? Is there something that you're going to use this opportunity with so many millions of people who will watch this particular Zoomcast? Is there something you feel you would like the other to know that you haven't shared yet?
Well, it can get emotional. I'm really afraid of Mary. Sorry, Mary. I'm really afraid of Mary dying. I just don't ever want her to die. She's not near death in any way, but she just got so much more.
To bring that up.
I'm sorry.
I'll be dead before midnight.
I knew you were going to say that.
Killed her.
Yeah. But I do fear. I wonder, I just don't want you to die. And the thing sorry, that's just the fact. And sorry, Mary. The thing I really would like to say to her is that just her opinion, her voice, her perspective matters so much and is so essential. And that I don't want her to be doing anything, even though it's, I know, really hard to do. I don't want you to artistically be doing anything other than getting it all out and getting it all down in the mess of it and in the beauty of it. I just keep, I know I saw the whole writing process of the novel and everything like that. I know it's so much work and so much thinking, but I really care about what you think and feel every day. I love to know what you think about everything. I just get it out. I'm just like, Mary, I know that you are doing that, but I want to say to you, it really matters to me and to so many people what you do think Yeah, as an artist, you really matter. That's what I want to say.
Well, that is, I mean, Rick, you can see why, I mean, you might not be able to see as clearly why Jamie is friends with me, but you can see why I'm friends with Jamie. I mean, that really matters so much to me because as a person, of course, as all people, we're so insecure and we think it doesn't matter. And, I tried to get in the Halifax comedy festival. And I just got turned down yesterday. And they said, because we want to have underrepresented, we need more underrepresented people, which, I'm not against that. But who is the most underrepresented people? Who are the most underrepresented people on Canadian television today? Old women, no matter what their race, creed, or color is. Like other countries, they have old women apparently in Great Britain, but we don't have any in Canada. They don't exist in any of our stories, apparently. There's lots of old men. Old men are on there, but you just don't see old women. I don't know where we went. So, I just get mad about that. And then I think, and I go down that Sookie hole where I think, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I'm going to eat some worms. And so, it really means so much to me that Jamie would care what I think, because of course, we've been working together for years. And sometimes what I think, I'll have to be careful, I'll say to someone, to say this, because Jamie took gender courses at university. And
I have a degree.
What? She has a degree in gender sensitivity. I think that sometimes I thought Jamie was going too far, but I have a brother who my character, Dakey Dunn, that hardly exists anymore, but he was a very on-woke guy, but he was very smart. And it was based on a lot of guys who I tragically dated. And also my brother, who was really smart, but, was an iron worker, and the other day we had we were starting to argue, and I kind of decided not to argue with him, but I said, he was talking about, he had been home watching Fox News, and he was talking about Haiti, and he was saying, and now the poor Americans are going to have all these people from Haiti and they're going to have to pay them their pensions and stuff like that. And I said, I don't know, but I read this thing about Haiti, and the Americans basically, left Haiti, destroyed Haiti from top to bottom without even a half of inch of topsoil left. And they have done nothing but harm there. And if a few Haitians had to come in and get a pension, that would be the very least. And I tried to say it in a calm kind of way, which I'm not doing now. And my brother went, hold on. I'm starting to change my mind. And I thought, my God, I never heard him say anything remotely like that before. So I think the whole thing of going over there where people are going, oh, we're so woke now, we can't say anything, I think it's actually shifting things enough so that my brother would actually say, hold on now a minute. I'm actually changing my mind.
I'm dead.
I know, me too.
I'm dead.
Yeah,
I know this brother. I love him so much. Amazing, incredible.
Yeah.
What a day!
What a day indeed when someone who's entrenched in their beliefs changes before our very eyes. And that capacity for transformation is also under the hood. Our brain's own neuroplasticity, which allows for us to keep learning and evolving and adapting well past our years of youthful idealism. And whether you imagine history as a back and forth pendulum, or a cyclical wheel of time, or the arc of the moral universe, there is progress being made, slowly but surely. And it feels like we're heading to the right side of history. But it demands constant work and constant reinvention and constant cooperation, plus the wisdom of elders and the energy of youth.
I think that I do believe on one hand, Audre Lorde, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house as a complete truth. And so on so many different levels, on a grand scale and on a very personal scale. But I think that there are such amazing thinkers and artists that are going to reimagine the way the world and have been. And it's in so many different ways, a new way of being and world making that I just know that they are going to figure it out. It's not going to happen immediately. it's going to happen in fits and starts and pushes and pulls. But I do believe that there are people who are going to be able to make the world in their storytelling and in their writing and in their music that are going to make it happen. It's just going to happen because we're going to feel it here first. And then we're going to act differently on the world. And we're actually now, like the younger generation, even before living with the reality of the climate crisis and global heating, they really grew up with a sense of not just we're going to operate a different way on the world. The world is us. We are the world. We are the earth. And like, they are just gonna, they got to turn this ship around. I don't know. They don't have to. We all have to. But I know that's the major, major concern I know of I hope, folks younger than me. And that's how it seems.
It's always been thus. We have the nuclear Holocaust waiting. I can't tell you, my father was born in 1898, how many times that they dealt with the end of the world, end of the world as we know it, the Great War, the other Great War, this pandemic, that pandemic, and so it's always like we're up against it, right? We're always up against it. And
I think of us as failing better. We know what failure is. We know that it's part of what athletes do. It's what artists do. It's what scientists do. You just slowly get a little less shit every time. And I feel that that's the way we kind of need to move forward collectively, is to work together to be
and actually failing, they say, is really, if you just don't fail, you just become closed off, and and that failing is actually an opportunity, and that the people who do the most good, it seems, if you look at it in a way, are the people who fail the most, and then finally through failing, like our Dr. Banting, who just had nothing. They threw him out of everywhere. He just failed and failed and failed until he finally came up with the cure for diabetes, which he then would not let anybody make any money on. He never made a penny on it. And then he insisted on going back, nobody wanted him to do it, to go back to the Second World War, and actually went down in a plane over Twillingate, I think. But you know what I mean? A person who failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, and gave us gave people who suffer from diabetes the greatest gift, which now, other greedy people are, trying to charge people so much money that they have to sell their kidney in order to get the insulin that they need. But that isn't the only part of the story. The other part of the story is Banting and Best, spent their own money, developed this, and then would not take any profit from it, and left it that nobody could take any profit from it. But then it ran out of time, their copyright or whatever on it. And so there's good stories. Like, I love that you're saying, Rick. It's like you if you only decide to look one way, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. There is both sides, right? I think I'm seeing that more as I get older.
So I have a game show. Speaking of failing better, I'd like to now take us through the light and silly portion of this podcast, which is called the Generation Gap. It's a game show where we each try to find out how little we actually know about the pop culture of the other's generation. And I'm going to start with you, Jamie. You're going to be first. All right. So you can probably see who this person is, Jamie.
Celine.
Okay. And what hurricane is she talking about?
I'm going to say Katrina.
Correct. Okay. And what show was she on CNN?
Larry King Live.
There you go. There's Larry King. Okay. Who's this dude?
Pope Ratzinger.
Oh, you even know his last name, his real German name, not just, Ben.
I don't know his magical Pope name.
Benedict. Yeah.
Sorry.
Name 3 Rolling Stones songs.
Satisfaction, Painted Black, and Beast of Burden.
Wow. Okay, good. So you're kind of like you're not even close to Gen Z. You're like thoroughly in the square of almost a Gen X. So these are going to be easy for you.
I'm 1990. I was born in 1990, but like one of my mom's good qualities is we were allowed to stay up late for the Oscars, and we watched Entertainment Tonight. every
Amazing.
night.
Name a British prime minister from the last century, from the 20th century.
Oh, David Cameron.
20th century from the last, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tony Blair or Winston Churchill.
Wow, you're so good. Oh my gosh, Mary, you're not going to stand a chance with your questions. Okay, moving on. Name a dance that Madonna made famous.
Well, she really took it from other communities, but voguing,
Everything, all good artists steal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Name the husband of this famous TV show, I Love Lucy.
Oh, Desi Arnaz.
Wow. And his character name?
Is it the same?
Ricky Ricardo.
I was going to say, wait, it's Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, okay. Who were the Flintstones inspired by? First of all, who are the Flintstones? What's the name of the couple?
They're a modern Stone Age family, and that's Wilma and Fred.
Wow. Okay. And inspired by which famous TV sitcom?
I really, truly don't know at that time, but I might say Honeymooners. I was just going to say, I guess it's Honeymooners.
There you go. Okay. You know what, Jamie? I think you have passed with flying colors, and now we're about to see if we can knock some failure into Mary Walsh here, okay? Into Canadian icon and
wait so
legend.
much. Just wait. No one reads the news like her. So
I'm going back. Can you do a little Vogue for us, Mary Walsh? I saw you do some before.
Yes, I was just helping Jamie with the voguing.
Strike a pose. Okay, great. Okay, so Mary, here we go with the audiovisual portion. Mary Walsh, what is this flag?
What is that flag?
Yeah.
Sheesh, I don't know.
It's the transgender pride flag. Oh, okay. Who is this character?
Yoda, maybe.
Yeah, you need to be a little more specific because he's actually okay. Now, Jamie, Baby Yoda. There you go. From what TV show?
Yeah. What?
What TV show is he in?
Baby Yoda. I don't know. Is he not on Star Wars or something?
It's called The Mandalorian, which is one of many of the new Disney world of Star Wars has about 30,000 ripoffs everywhere. And bonus points for Jamie if you know his real name.
He's called the child or Grogu.
Grogu. Wow. My goodness. Jamie keeps racking up the points. Okay. Mary, this is an easy one. Who is this character?
Oh, he's Harry Potter's, Gilfoy, whatever his name is.
Close. Draco Malfoy.
Malfoy is it?
Malfoy. Gilfoy was close.
Malfoy,
You get half points for that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to open up this one. And which famous singer was this? Who played Hannah Montana? She's a famous pop singer now.
Yeah, and her father is a famous pop singer too.
Yeah, this is what she looked like more recently. But that's
yes, Millie. Like Steven. And he looks he's getting to look more and more like an old woman, like with long hair.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus. You called her Millie, but I'll accept Miley. That's good. Okay, good. Again, a Star Wars. What droid is this?
Did I mention to you that I never go to Star Wars because I believe that Star Wars destroyed film as an art form and that it has never been worth going to since? Did I mention that to you?
You haven't mentioned that and is clearly, maybe I haven't sunk that in. So I take it you don't know the name of this droid.
I wouldn't know the name. On purpose, I would never know the name.
So by principle, I'll give it just to you.
Principle. I'm standing on my values.
Okay. Jamie, what's he called?
His name is BB-8, and I only know all this because I decided to shack up with a straight white millennial.
Yes.
And that's the only reason I know these things, and that's all he talks about. And I love him. Yeah.
And he's a poet, and he won the poetry award. Come on, he can't just talk about Star Wars.
He honestly only day in, day out talks about Star Wars and the Titanic. And yes, then he writes by candlelight.
Never bring him over. Never bring him over because I'll have to kill him. I'll have to, garrote him.
Name the Simpsons family.
Oh, Marge and Oh my God! I said I know Marge and Homer and
there you go.
Brett, and the
Bart.
little fella, and the little girl who plays the clarinet, or actually the saxophone, and then there's the baby,
Lisa and Maggie.
I didn't really do well in school because as soon as I'm asked a direct question, my mind goes.
You know what I love though, Mary, is how you're always dancing around the correct wording. It's like dancing around the truth should be the name of maybe a new book or.
Good idea, dancing around the truth. It is
okay.
Simpson, of course, and Lisa and Homer and Marge. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Yeah. These are some texting abbreviations. I'd like you to tell me what they mean. Okay. IDK.
I don't know.
LMK.
No.
Let me know.
Oh, right.
Okay. Here's a tough one. SMH.
No.
I'm giving you a visual hint. Jamie, do you know? Oh, you got it. You got it. Yeah. There you go. Okay, good. Very nice. Okay. Mary, on Tinder, the platform, the dating platform, if you swipe right, do you like someone or not like someone?
I'm thinking you like someone if you swipe right.
Ding, ding. Okay.
And bad, right?
Okay. Yeah. Finish this lyric. It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here.
Is it Baby Shark?
Jamie, can you fill in the blank?
The correct answer is, so take off all your clothes.
Right. And that's just a lyric. So we don't need to do any of that. I wanted to say how thankful I am, how grateful I am to know you just a little bit better. And I wish you all the best on all your future endeavors. And I hope you had fun.
Thank you so much for asking me to do this, Mary. And Rick, I had a ball. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, thank you.
Miss Know-It-All. Nobody loves a know-it-all, Jamie.
This has been Xing the Gap. Whether you're watching this as a video or listening to the podcast, it was all recorded and edited by me, Rick Miller, with extra multimedia from my amazing team at CODCO. This series is being launched in partnership with LEAP, an online community where life experience meets innovation, created by CABI, the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. I'd like to extend a huge thanks to the LEAP and CABI teams for helping make it happen. You can find out more about their work at cabi.com/leap. Very special thank you to my two guests today, Mary Walsh and Jamie Pitt. Let me know what you think of our conversation and who you'd like to hear as future guests. You can find me at Rick Miller Actor on Twitter or Instagram, or on my website, rickmiller.ca. For more information about the Boom Trilogy and other projects on stage and online, check out boomtheshow.com or kidoons.com. And remember, in a polarized world, you have a choice. Build a wall or build a bridge. Build bridges, not walls.
Xing the Gap.